Hey guys, it's Crossroads here with a special guest, Vlad Tenev, CEO of Robinhood. Vlad, how are you today?
Always a pleasure. Good to be here.
I appreciate you coming on. And I have a lot of questions from Investor Day. That was quite the presentation with well over 100 slides. I feel like guys could have spent several days just going on through all the details, but I appreciate the broad highlights. And in Robinhood Investor Day, there was a mention of multiple very clear arcs to grow by a 10x. And I'm very curious, like out of all those that were presented, or maybe some that we don't know about, what do you find the most compelling personally?
I think that on the active traders front, that's exciting to me because that's really where we push the boundaries of technology innovation. With things like 24-hour market, new products like event contracts, you really get to operate at the frontier. I think that wallet share and being the primary financial institution for millennials and beyond, that's exciting in a different way. You
Yeah.
solve different problems, and that's really about broadening the value that Robinhood provides uh, outside of just trading. So we get into things like banking services, retirement, wealth management, and yeah, it's exciting because it just increases the surface area. Uh, Even though maybe those needs are a little bit simpler and it's not real-time trading, which is just sort of like pushing the boundaries of technology. And then I think the third arc of expanding the business from U.S. primary to global and from retail only to business and institutional, that's probably the biggest market of all. That's hundreds of billions in annual revenue at stake when you look at all of the businesses that are engaging in financial markets or payments and all of the institutions as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. The TAM is just immense, and I think you guys made a good case for not only that it exists. A lot of companies can do that, but how you're going to go after it. And it seems like a good plan of attack. And on international, you mentioned that launching into APAC through Singapore as a hub, and there's a mention of several other launches in the future, not where there are yet. But what goes into deciding where to target and what products initially to lead with?
Yeah, I think that uh, one axis by which I look at is where can I get licensed and build a presence, a local presence, and be able to expand in a capital efficient manner. So, for example, when we launched in the European Union,
Mhm.
we got licensed in Lithuania, and we developed a relationship with the regulators and different folks there. And Lithuania by itself is a relatively small market, but what was attractive to us was that it allowed us to unlock the entire European region, which has over 600 million people, and that was really a hub that we could use to serve the broader continent. So we look at places where we can establish a foothold and serve a much bigger market when we're selecting these headquarters. But the end goal is to be live globally with really great products across investing, but not just investing, also spending and long-term wealth management um, in every country. And it's really about what's the best way to kind of get through that as capital efficiently as possible. And I think
Yeah.
we'll get there in 10 years regardless, but how much can we accelerate it and can we front load the impact where we serve the most people as soon as possible?
Yeah, and you said every country, so I have a lot of followers that ask me all the time, like, "When Canada?" And I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's atop the radar. It doesn't have that regional hub. There's regulation stuff, but
Well, I will tell you, Canada, there's a lot of people that get really excited about Canada at Robinhood. We have
oh,
Canadian
yeah,
employees. We have a Canadian office in Toronto. Um, so, I mean, certainly in some cases we have different criteria, and
mhm.
the fact that we have employees there and we have a lot of like diehard Robin Hoodies that can't use the product is unfortunate. So,
Y
yeah,
yeah, they're missing out, but one day they're part of every country, so one day they'll have it. So,
yeah,
um,
exactly.
One of those that surprised me the most from the investor day was just the speed at which event contracts launched, and of course the success of that at 500,000 new accounts opening up from that. And I'm curious, Robinhood has a lot more of a flywheel now than even just a couple of years ago because you guys have just been accelerating nonstop. So I'm wondering if there's any early read on those 500,000 accounts, if that flywheel effect is starting to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've seen a lot of crossover from the folks that came in for event contracts to uh, trading crypto, investing in equities, and signing up for gold, which is perhaps the most exciting for us
Oh yeah.
because I really see gold as the gateway to multi-product adoption within Robinhood. Someone comes in for usually it's stock trading, sometimes crypto as well, and that's kind of the first product they use, but they adopt gold rather quickly. And we've actually, one of the areas of focus was increasing that attach rate. So making gold useful for you early on in your journey as a customer, because we know that once someone adopts gold, there's a natural tendency to look at what else the bundle offers. And that's kind of a incentive to discover all the other experiences. You're already paying for Robinhood Gold. What else am I getting out of this bundle? And if you're in the market for a retirement account or a credit card or so many other things other than APY, I think that's an incentive to consider Robinhood for those and learn more about our products. And so we had Gold Monday last week.
Yeah.
That was very successful. I mentioned the attach rate earlier. That's something we've been able to drive significantly just in the past year. And we look at not just the global gold to net funded account attach rate, which is close to 10%. Yeah, I think that it's just great to see that we're offering more things that are valuable to customers, and we've been making it easier for customers to discover that.
That's really good to hear, and I love with your products too. Just got the Robinhood Gold Card. Finally, I know a lot of people are waiting, over 2 million on the wait list. And I was very impressed, and I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was very impressed with just like the latency and the layout of the actual app. That's something that's you're not even like just trying to get people with that 3% rate with the credit card, but like the whole product is just phenomenal. So
Yeah,
congratulations on that one
the
too.
team's done a very nice job. Deepak, Sid, and the entire money team. We call them the money team at
There you
Robinhood.
go.
Um, they've been really doing a nice job, and I think it's tough because it's very, very hard to stay patient with the rollout. We know we have to do that because we're building a long-term business, but it does incur a little bit of pain to see a large wait list that we're that's just like building up over time. But I will tell you, I'd rather be in this position than a very, very small wait list or nobody caring about the product.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think the 3% is really what attracts people to the offering, but it's not enough. The product experience has to be really good. The virtual cards, the family features, these are all things that are very differentiated in the credit card marketplace. And having a best in class experience, I think, is responsible for the high retention that we talked a little bit about during Investor Day.
Yeah, and I can say as a user now, it's absolutely working. So there was a mention of AI, and it wasn't a typical mention in the investor day of just like, hey, let's say AI 100 times and pump the stock.
Yeah.
You're not a novice when it comes to AI. Robinhood's been using it some, there was a mention specifically of implementing more generative AI into customer facing products next year. So I'm curious. Hallucinations is a big topic with LLMs with Gen AI. What do you guys do to avoid hallucinations?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a tough problem in general. Basically, you've heard there's been an evolution in the AI industry from kind of the V1 generative products, which
Hmm.
are just you talking to uh, a model directly. Chat GPT was the first example of this. You're just interacting directly with the model. You're getting answers in real time towards more agentic flows using what's called chain of thought. And chain of thought is really just like step-by-step thinking and evaluating the intermediate steps of a reasoning chain before sending the output. And I think that's been anthropomorphized a little bit as thinking. It's like, oh, the model is thinking, but really what's happening is there's just like multiple model calls behind the scenes. Some versions of the model are actually checking whether the reasoning is correct, which slows down the output, but also serves to reduce hallucinations. So in a nutshell, a lot of the things that are called agents out there basically just have are more complex implementations of underlying models that use the models themselves to validate the output. And I think for certain applications, being 100% correct, so having zero hallucinations is necessary. And those are safety critical domains, or if you're actually powering trading infrastructure. But there's a lot of domains where, a 5% hallucination rate is not the end of the world, because humans hallucinate. So sometimes like humans will get it wrong. So as long as, you do a better job than sort of like a high quality human agent at a task, then I think the product is still useful.
Yeah, I think that's a good litmus, is if it's more effective and more accurate than humans, then that's not a bad standard. Klarna's CEO a few days ago mentioned their use of AI, and they said, direct quote, he said, AI can already do all of the jobs. And they've essentially stopped hiring, going from, I believe, 4,500 employees to 3,500 through natural attrition. They hire here and there. But I'm curious, you guys mentioned augmenting internal operations, implementing, of course, AI agents. And I'm just curious, as far as like that implementation, do you see that that's true, that AI can do like all of the jobs, or is there a specific area where like, hey, AI is great at this, but we want to keep humans in the loop here? I'm just curious about your philosophy on that.
Yeah, I don't think it can do my job yet. I don't think it can literally do all of the jobs.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd be funny. Yeah, there's I guess the first, when people were first philosophizing about this, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I think there was a thought that the like blue collar manual labor jobs would be the first to go with robotics, and then knowledge workers and artists and folks that are writing poetry would be the last to go, because there was something very, very human in art and creativity. And it turned out that actually the exact opposite happened. Robotics is very, very hard. Generating art and like poetry was one of the first things that AI could do really well. Which really makes you think about the nature of art and like what makes art inherently valuable. And I think that's an area that intersects with crypto when you talk about NFTs and traditional art. But I think that I'm very pro-human, Crossroads. I'm pro-human. I think that I'm pro-entrepreneur. A lot of our customers are entrepreneurs, as you probably met at Hood Summit. So I think that for this technology to succeed, and I do think it will, it'll be like a force multiplier on human creativity. And I'm a little bit less bullish on, AIs running companies and forming corporations and like fully autonomously navigating the world without a human in charge. I think humans have to be calling the shots, and it's like a force multiplier on what you're doing.
Sure. So, as far as like a specific implementation, let's take the customer service, because I've seen a little bit of this myself, just using that, and it seemed to work actually very well. Was rapid, alleviated my issue right there. Took care of it. I was switching from a monthly payment to an annual on Robinhood Gold. It was great. And
that's one of the few things that we could just do for you, right?
Okay.
I bet it told you, oh, you're done. Like, well, I've just changed it for you on your behalf, right?
Yeah, I was like, okay, this was like easier than I expected. I expected, like you guys are pretty fast, at least when I reach out. The few times that I reach out, I usually don't have issues. But it was quick, efficient. It got done. I'm like, is it done? It's done. Okay, this is great. So, as far as customer service, is there going to be are you thinking about AI in that implementation, like doing some things automatically like that, just certain things, or is that going to be like the first layer, but there's a human in the loop that's kind of managing these AI agents in case they always need to talk to a human, or how do you go about that specifically on the service side?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's a big area of uh, innovation and like creativity in the space, because actually the bulk of queries that customers have are informational in nature. uh, you're asking about a product. Is this available? When is it going live? So it's kind of a read only use case where you
Sure.
don't, a human agent, if they were servicing that query, wouldn't have to go and actually make changes to the system. But if you look at a lot of the most expensive and cumbersome and frankly like high impact painful customer service experiences from the customer standpoint, um, they do require an agent to actually go and maybe look at multiple systems and make some changes. Like, for example, if someone had a payment that they deposited by mistake and they want to cancel it, someone has to go in, look at it, uh, do a couple of steps, cancel the payment. Upgrading from a monthly to an annual gold membership is probably the one of the easiest cases, which is why we were able to get it done quickly. The intent is to have these agents do actions on your behalf. But if you think about that one, it's like solely inside our ecosystem. It's not like high criticality. Consequences of failure are not catastrophic, so those are easy. But then there's
Okay.
a spectrum. There's things that are much more difficult. If we screw it up, the consequences would be much more dire. For example, validating your identity, and if you forgot your password, letting you into the service, things
Oh
of
yeah.
that nature, where you know if you screw that up and we let someone that's not you into your account, consequences could be very, very significant. Or something around options trades. And
Sure.
in brokerage, there's a designation between cases where you need licensure to be able to answer, which is usually if it's something that's very account or trading specific. You need to be a Series 7 or a licensed professional to be able to field that case versus
Mhm.
unlicensed. And we're already seeing huge deflection rates primarily due to unlicensed. But like licensed is a tough one to handle. Those cases tend to be more complex, and I think for that one, we need to work with regulators to make sure that it's clear what does it mean for an AI to be handling a licensed case. Is it going to be like someone who's actually licensed approving it, or is there a way to do the simpler ones at first autonomously? So we've got a good team on it. They're really thinking through it and making progress every day, and the deflection rate is already quite good and only getting better.
Yeah, I know that sounds great, and look forward to seeing more implementation. Also glad to hear there's no Vlad GPT anytime soon. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
we've tried. Uh, yeah, it's better at jokes, but yeah, not quite there in terms of all the other stuff.
yeah, not yet, at least. So, as far as crypto, there's a lot, and I'm of course looking forward to that crypto event this next year. Just hearing more, but with November metrics out, crypto is off to a fantastic start for you guys, and I was really excited to see several tokens re-added back to Robinhood after the election.
Yeah.
Some new ones launched as well. So I'm just kind of curious as far as the thought and decision making process behind when to add tokens, what to add, and how you go about that.
Well, I also have something new to announce to you right now, which
Okay.
is crypto coming to Robinhood Legend. So crypto is coming to Robinhood Legend. It's going to start rolling out imminently. I think over the next couple of days, it should be out to more and more users.
Great.
And basically, along with that is coming the first instance of direct exchange routing. So through the mobile apps and Web Classic, uh, when you place a crypto order, it would go to market makers. But for some active traders, they really want to interact with the order book directly. And so with Robinhood Legend, for the first time, you'll be able to go direct to exchange and actually manage the order book, manage your orders, which I think will be really great for active traders. That was initially going to ship in 2025, but seeing what's been going on with the crypto markets and also the initial kind of Robinhood Legend adoption, which has been strong, we decided to accelerate that. And of course, benefits from changes platform wide as we add more tokens and coins that'll come to Robinhood Legend community as well. In terms of how we decide to list tokens, we have a listing committee. Generally, I'm like anti-committee, but I think this one is very, very good because this has been such a critical area of regulatory scrutiny, and intense interest that I think it helps us out. So they go through a process where they evaluate every asset and in some cases come to decisions to list, other cases delist. But I'm actually not involved in the process. So that happens in the crypto team outside of kind of my direct involvement.
All right. Yeah, that's a great answer, and looking forward to seeing more offerings on Robinhood. So USDG, the global dollar, was announced. Robinhood's a part of that stablecoin. So I'm curious as far as how Robinhood is making use of that. Is that for settlement, or is that for something else in the future?
I think that it'll be for settlement. I think that's more of like the business to business institutional use case. I think it'll be
Okay.
really good for that. But there's a retail use case too. Stable coins have been growing in adoption. They're basically like the new American Express traveler's check. If you're in a foreign country and you want to get access to dollars, and you want to use a trusted sort of like source of dollars, stable coins have filled that need. And I think the sacrifice that you've had to make as a customer is you're not really earning interest on those stablecoin deposits. I think thus far we haven't needed that. I mean, Tether came of age when rates were zero, and of
Yeah.
course they've become quite big in recent years, and they haven't increased the rate that they offer to customers or their clients. And I think that's an opportunity. I think the next generation of successful stables will pay yield directly to holders. And I think
Yeah.
that'll give you an incentive to hold it rather than just trading in and out of stables with other cryptos.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's I don't know that there's many stable coins out there other than just going through a DeFi platform that actually offer any kind of yield. So, related to yield, how big is a deal is staking for Robinhood?
It's been very popular in Europe, which is where we launched it first. So we have Solana staking and Ethereum staking, which launched relatively recently. Something like 60% of Sol on platform is staked. So customers love it. And it's a easy way to not just generate yield, but feel like you're an active participant in the crypto ecosystem. You're actually like validating transactions. As if you're participating in staking. So
Sure.
we get a lot of demand in the US about it. I think we've been hesitant to, I mean, we haven't enabled it in the US, although nothing from an engineering perspective would prevent us from doing so. We have it in the EU. It's really just been that the current administration's taken the position that staking is a security.
Yeah. Sadly, hopefully that's changing. It seems like it might be with Gary Gensler being out, and so we'll have to see what the future holds with that. Related to crypto as well, there was a mention of crypto as a service, and I'm curious what that looks like for Robinhood.
I think that yeah, generally any service that we make available for retail, we think that there's an opportunity to make it available to businesses and institutions as well. Because businesses and institutions also like great asset selection,
Mhm.
liquidity, low costs, and a nice interface. Like those things appeal to businesses as well. Crypto is one of the areas where we first started doing this. We launched a service called Robinhood Connect, which is an on and off ramp. So if you've got a DeFi wallet, for example, like a MetaMask or a Phantom, which are two of the wallets that we partner with, you
Mhm.
still need to get dollars. You need to load crypto on or off that DeFi wallet, and that loading is being done through on ramps. And Robinhood Connect basically was born of the idea that there's a lot of non-custodial wallets out there. We're really, really good at all of the things around converting fiat into crypto and vice versa. And that's really the core problem that Robinhood has solved, making it as cheap and as efficient as possible to go between fiat and crypto. And kind of we do really well at the intersection of these two worlds. So why not offer it as a service to others? And you can see actually since it's launched, Robinhood Connect, most of the DeFi wallets sort by how much crypto you're getting per dollar. And they tend to put the ones that give you more at the top. And I think we're consistently at or near the top across all of the assets that we support. And so that's something that we're excited about. We also introduced a crypto trading API that allows more sophisticated individual retail traders to write their own strategies using, Python or programming language of their choice. And I think that we're going to expand that both by going deeper on the crypto side, but eventually bring it to all assets on the platform.
Okay. Yeah, that's huge. So tokenization was another mention that I wanted to ask you about, somewhat related to crypto. And that was just like all the rage back in 2018, 2019, 2020. It's still important. And I'm just kind of curious as far as specifically, there's a mention of tokenization of real world assets and also stocks. So what does that mean for Robinhood? And can you break that down?
Tokenization to some extent has been happening outside of crypto for quite a while. When you're dealing with a dollar in your bank account or your brokerage account, it's sort of like entries in a database moving around representing the actual dollar, but cash generally is not being moved. Similarly with stocks, I mean, the days where being a stockholder meant having a physical certificate that you have behind you in your office are no longer there. Even though I met someone that had some stock certificates behind them, and that was pretty amazing to see. But like these things have been tokenized in TradFi already. So what happens when you bring them onto crypto rails? Well, I think that it becomes public infrastructure, which means that interoperability is much simpler. So you can see that with Stablecoins. I can take my dollar stablecoin and send it to you regardless of what non-custodial wallet or even custodial wallet you're using. There's just a simple way to transfer value back and forth using the blockchain as the core infrastructure. Right now, transferring stocks from one broker to the other is like very complex. It's burdensome. It doesn't happen in real time. It takes multiple days. It's just, if you've taken advantage of our ACAT promos, you've probably felt a little bit of that pain.
Oh, yes.
And I think there's also not a great incentive for the contra broker, the broker whose assets are leaving, to come to Robinhood to make that as easy as possible. I mean, they'll pull out every trick in the book to like introduce some friction.
Yeah.
Including like asking you if you've considered the IRS tax implications, and when people hear that, they're like, oh gosh, I got to slow down here. So I think interoperability is big, and cost savings is big too. And then, any cost savings that a business can incur actually can translate to cost savings for customers at the end of the day, and them getting more value. And that directly reflects in long-term investment returns. And then you have things like 24-hour market. Very difficult for us to build the infrastructure for 24/5 trading for 1,000 US stocks. If stocks use blockchain infrastructure, then that basically, along with fractionalization, 24N fractionalization, happen out of the box just using public infrastructure. So I think it's where the world is headed. It's just a question of like how quickly, and can Robinhood help accelerate that, given our unique position at the intersection of TradFi and DeFi.
Yeah, no, that's I'd say you guys are well positioned for that. So that'll be exciting to see. I actually experienced that when moving from one job to another and trying to get those rollover funds from the IRA to you guys. It took, I think, 5 weeks, and just like you said, the the previous holder of those funds, every single, it seemed like
Yeah.
every other day there was something, a reason why.
They probably
Oh,
wanted you to come to their office to sign physical paperwork, right?
they did. It made it as, and I understand why they're doing it, but it's frustrating. And so anything that can be done to accelerate that process, and of course cheapen it for you guys and also the customers, is phenomenal. So I love hearing that.
Yeah. I mean, when you've got a castle, you got to protect your castle, right? It's. I can understand why they do it, but it's also why we love disruption so much.
That's right. The name Robinhood is very fitting. So the others, they're ready to be disrupted. So I wanted to also ask you, maybe this is the last question here on culture. I've gotten a good feel of that just from the Miami event and then the investor day as well, that you guys have a very active and vibrant culture, not well siloed or anything like that. And just specific to you and also the company, you guys are shipping products, in my estimation, better than anybody else in fintech. Just there's nobody close. Maybe there's somebody out there that's a good number two, but yeah, Robinhood, you guys are great. So you, with this investor day, you mentioned all these different vectors of growth and things that you're working on, projects that you're doing, 3 different events that are coming up this next year. How do you personally guard against the challenge of trying to do too much, and how does that look at the company level as well?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I always, to some degree, feel like the products could be better, and you have to have there's a balance between holding them and making sure that they're really, really good while also getting them out there. I think that, I mean, what I say to myself is very few mistakes are catastrophic out there.
Mhm.
So let's say we launch something a little bit early and it's not quite there as or it's missing a couple of features. We're always, that gives us motivation to improve it as quickly as possible. Um, I tend to prioritize shipping quickly, and I think just like a culture of people that can iterate and get things out there quickly is a huge accelerant in the long run.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
if you ship things quickly, let's say they don't work, the same muscle that led you to ship it leads you to actually fixing the issues and improving it. So iterating quickly is also important. And we also try to push quality. I mean, there's a lot of people, me included, that care a lot about the quality of the things that we put out. And we try to put systems in place to where we're actually proud of the things that we ship. And we would probably rather ship a deeper product that covers less surface area. So maybe we do like 1 or 2 things really, really well, but we do them all the way and round out the features along the side. Probably Robinhood Legends a good example.
Mhm.
Uh, I think for equities trading experience on desktop, that everything was like complete and very nice. But of course, people want more. They want crypto. They want a better options experience. Where's futures? And so the sort of like breadth of the offering uh, was less than if we had held it longer. But I think the benefit is you get that quick customer feedback, which is so valuable, and you want to operate in a closed loop with your customers. So the faster you can get something in front of them and real usage, I think helps in the long run. So we do try to optimize for that.
Oh yeah, no, and that makes sense. So as far as you're one guy. You built an incredible team behind you, but there's a joke there at an investor day that you're open and working more than the markets are that are 24/5. So you're 24/7. So how do you personally guard against the trying to do too much at the same time as a CEO?
Yeah, I mean, I think that um, I actually am happy to work quite a bit as long as what I'm working on has impact and is important. And I think that if I find myself working on something that I'm questioning the importance of, my preferred answer is not to work less and to like take more time off, but to actually change what I'm working on, or stop doing it,
Sure.
or ask questions about if it's really necessary. And sometimes you just have to do it. I mean, there are important things that you'd rather not be doing, but you have to move to the other side of it. But that's what systems are for. Over time, building systems so that you don't have to like do those things over and over again. But yeah, I've been through many phases of this. I've been an entrepreneur for a while now. I started Robinhood over 10 years ago. And I find that what works for me is I like to be busy. I like to have a lot of things that I'm thinking through. Hopefully those things are important. And it's really about working on the right things that give me energy, that prevents any sort of burnout or demotivation.
That's great to hear. Yeah, since Vlad GPT is not ready yet, we need you in place there for the next Wild leading the way
At
with it.
least until the models get a little bit better. They still
That's right.
hallucinate a little bit too much.
Yeah, we can't have that. So, well, thank you so much for coming on, Vlad, and doing this interview. Really appreciate talking to you every chance that I get, and excited to see what you guys have for us in the near future.
Yeah. Happy holidays, and thank you for the time. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.